Hello everyone. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the COP27 Resilience Hub. Welcome to everyone. I think that deserves a round of applause. To all of you in the room, a huge welcome, and I hope your travels to COP27 went well. And to everyone joining us online, welcome. It's definitely an exciting moment for all of us. This has been a year in the making. And we have an incredible lineup of events, sessions, and interactive things for us to come together and progress and advance a unified voice on inclusive and transformative resilience action. Before we jump into our first event, we have a very exciting way to start the Resilience Hub. We will be getting a performance by A.Y. Young. But before we get to that performance, a little bit about A.Y. Young. He is a producer, a singer, a songwriter, and an entrepreneur, definitely pushing the boundaries on art, music, and climate action, and what it means for us to collectively be inspired to act. He has been named one of the UN's youth leaders for the Sustainable Development Goals, having even performed at President Biden's inauguration. He's working on an album called Global Goals, which is called Project 17. It's a massive collaboration with some of the Earth's largest artists, or biggest artists rather, and companies to create one song for each of the 17 SDGs. He's a passionate person, and you can see it when you interact with him and engage with him. We're really excited to have him here with us. He is very passionate about collaboration, and certainly we're very excited to have him here with us. But let me say no more. We have a short video that's going to introduce him a bit better, and then we're going to get a live performance from him as well. Cue the video.
A local hip-hop artist makes an international name for himself. He is the first artist to power his concert with 100% renewable energy.
It is a real honor to recognize Mr. A.Y. Young, the founder of Battery Tour.
It's incredible. Can't wait for you to see this. The United Nations is now throwing its support behind him.
Mr. Young has made a big impact in his young life, born in 1991. He's a singer-songwriter, a dancer, producer, entrepreneur, and sustainability advocate. He's staged and performed more than 800 concerts. He was named by the United Nations recently as one of 17 youth world leaders of the world, the only individual selected for that honor from the United States.
To stimulating this local economy further, bringing entrepreneurs together, bringing businesses together, bringing the world together so we can make some change.
I'm here to listen. Don't ask me questions. Tell me what to do. Give me ideas.
My mission is to kind of break down these silos, these barriers, and build bridges to power collective action by bringing everyone together.
It's going to be incredible. My work plan's in 3 different phases. I'm going to make an album powered 100% by renewable energy.
Right now, A.Y. Young is working on an album based on the 17 United Nations goals. Major stars like Tech9 and Billie Eilish will collaborate.
This will be the one I'm called Tech9, and I am part owner of Strange Music, and right now a part of Goal One, baby. Oh, let's go.
There are 700 million people that are still living in poverty.
The whole premise of your music is about collaboration 100%. And about getting excited. It's about going across the finish line.
I don't think anyone can disagree that everyone needs to have access to energy, water, food. My belief is that everyone in the world, we're all these outlets for change. let's try some music, guys. What's up? You guys having a good time? Hey, Kyle? Let's roll it. This is a very chill room anyway. I'll meet you guys. First of all, how you doing? Hey, when I was 16, thought I'd never make it like the rappers on the TV screen. It was a dream, now I'm 19 and my flow boy is about to meet the world. Hey, it's Panga. And all the resilience of team, you guys are here. How you guys doing? I'm AY, nice to meet you. You guys ready for Cop this year? You guys ready? What's up? Hello guys, make some noise. Saying hey to Cop today. I'm telling you guys, it's all about like coming together, right? As outlets for change, as different communities building a world that can be resilient, right? That can last over time. And saying hey to that, right? Hey, so why I say hey, wave to the world. You can wave to them guys. This is my sound. How you doing? I'm a shine, so I say hey, wave to the stage and this is my thing. Something like the radio, and I'm playing. Tell all my haters good night. Hey, how you doing? I'm AY. Emma, how you doing? What's up? Okay, guys, I'm gonna do something really special. This is Goal 17, right? From Project 17. I made one song. You guys ready?
Oh, sister, mister, look who's made our minds up. And now I can't find the reasons not to give up.
I think it's gonna take
teachers, leaders, dreamers, let's go.
Oh, what's up, guys?
They always take the right away. Leave the
I need you guys to sing with me. 5 keys, okay? Go.
We can change the world.
All together.
Is that a lie they told us? We can change the world. We'll shine a light back down and we can change the world. So we got to come together now. Got to come together now.
Talk to you guys. See, I don't like it any more than you do. Yeah. But in your ignorance, that bliss is void. I think it's about time be humble and realize that we're one and the same, unique and one of a kind. Cause brighter days come ahead when we join together. So put your best foot forward, go and make an effort. They call me AY, I spoke to Akon. On the day we in the grapevine, let's have a great time. The shit world influence great minds. I'm trying to make my version of Picasso. This is colossal. So
They always take the right away.
You can stand up if you want to, right? Together. Take it out. Go.
We can change the world.
Sing it out right now. Sing it out.
So we can change the world.
Everybody saying
We can change the world. So we got to come together now. We got to come together now.
let's go, guys.
We got to come together now.
To build together.
We got to come together now.
We've got to come together through the wind and stormy weather. Let's test you guys out. You guys know?
Got to come
Just a little energy boost for Call 27. What's up? You know, people from all over the world coming together. Okay, guys, this is Save the Planet. This is a sustainability anthem for Goal 13. Save the planet. We gon' save the planet. Everybody looking at me like I'm from another planet. Woo! Save the planet. See, you gon' save the planet. Everybody looking at you like you're from another planet. Woo! Save the planet. I think you gon' save the planet. Everybody. Oh, what's up, brother? You can come. Hey, make some noise for this. Dude, this is gonna be a great week, Anastasia. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. They acting like we from another Mars. They say climate change ain't a thing. What they talking about? What they know about that? What they carbon offset? Facts, we just wanna act. We ain't sitting back, right? Solar power, wind and solar power. Everybody needs the energy. Let's store it up and power the world. Recycle. We need more recycle, but they acting like some followers on Instagram and Twitter, yeah. Make some noise for yourself, guys. What's up? You guys having a good time? People travel from all over the world.
I flew in from Cairo. How you guys doing? Guys, we're all coming together at COP to save the planet, build a resilient world, right? This is the resiliency hub, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Let's test you guys out one more time. Save the planet. We gon' save the planet. Everybody looking at me like, you can sing it now, right? So go, save the planet.
Save the planet.
Save the planet, what?
Save the planet. Save the planet. We gon' save the planet. Save the planet.
Yeah, save the planet. I think you gon' save the planet. I think it said save the planet in Arabic. Okay, guys, we can't forget about the ocean, right? The ocean is alive. Hey, so keep the plastic. Let's not forget about the ocean, baby. So let's keep the plastic. Let's not forget about the ocean, baby. Ties alive, so keep the plastic. Let's not forget about the ocean. Okay, I'm done, guys. It's on you. You know that. Yeah, save the planet. I think us at COP gonna save the planet. If we come together, maybe, baby, we can save the planet, yeah. Thank you guys so much.
Another big round of applause for A.Y. Young, everyone. I can only speak for myself, but I don't think I've ever been to a COP pavilion that has ever kicked off with a live performance. I think music in human history has always played an important role in inspiring, speaking truth to power, and bringing us together. But A.Y. Young just proved to us as well that as serious as the issue is, we can still be joyous and come together and have fun as well. And that's a fantastic tone to have set for the start of the Resilience Hub. Thank you, A.Y. Young, and thank you for everyone who organized that. Listening to your lyrics, A.Y. Young, talking about partnership and collaboration, what a fantastic segue into the first event for the Resilience Hub, focusing on catalytic grants and bringing together people to foster their partnerships and to progress work on locally led adaptation and resilience building. And so without further ado, let's kick off the first event. We'll be starting off with a brief intervention by Professor Salim Al-Haq from the International Center for Climate Change and Development. So, Prof, I'd like to invite you up for a few opening words.
Great. Thank you very much, Emil. Good afternoon, everybody. A tough act to follow, and I'm not going to try. But that was great fun. So my name is Salim Al-Haq. Please call me Salim. I'm the director of the International Center for Climate Change and Development at the Independent University, Bangladesh. And I guess my most important credential for being at a COP is I'm one of the few people who's been to all 27 of them, this being my 27th. If you count the Rio original UNFCCC, then there's more than 27 COPs. Right? I was at Rio at the beginning of the UNFCCC as well, 30 years ago. So it's my great pleasure to be associated with the Resilience Hub. I'll tell you a little bit about what the Resilience Hub is about, because we're opening it up here. It's something we started last year in COP26 in Glasgow. It's part of the Race to Resilience, which is something that the climate champions of the UNFCCC put together. And there are many, many different partners. You'll see all the logos up here who are part of it. And we ran the hub last year as a hybrid hub because of the COVID restrictions. Not everybody was able to go to Glasgow. And that went very well. It was an experiment. It was a great success. So we're going to do it again this year. And I'm very glad to be here at the opening. The opening session itself, I'll tell you a little bit about that. My colleagues at my institute in London, in Dhaka, have been running for a few years something we call Gobeshona. Gobeshona is a Bangla word for research, which is a global platform of locally led action on adaptation. Okay, so local actors doing adaptation. They got hit by COVID, so they had to cope with COVID. And then now they're doing climate change and actually having hit by climate change, they're having to deal with losses and damages due to climate change. But these are the frontline communities with whom we've been working for quite a long time. And what we did last year was we tried to bring their voices into the Resilience Hub in Glasgow, and that was quite a good success. Some people were able to come themselves, most people came online and shared their stories, and we came out with a program of providing small grants to a number of them who were doing activities on the ground to support them. And my center was given some funding to provide them with these grants. My colleague Adiba, who will be speaking after me, will tell you about how we ran them, and we have a number of the grantees here who will tell their stories and share them with you. And we hope we're going to be launching another round here during the COP, so look out for that information. Adiba will give you how to get that if you're interested, and we welcome applications for small grants. They're in the order of $5,000 for one or two individuals to take action on their own, and then come back to the COP every year and tell us what you did. And that's really part of the package that we offer. And it's really to bring the voices of people from the grassroots, from the front lines, to tell their stories, not stories of misery and vulnerability, but stories of tackling misery and vulnerability in a joyous manner, as we just heard from Eki Young. So thank you all very much. I'll hand over back to Emil for the rest of the session. And I hope everybody enjoys it and comes here to the Resilience Hub, enjoys the coffee that we offer here, some space to sit and chat and mingle. It's all part of the package that we offer here for everybody. We think of ourselves as the action part of the COP as opposed to the talking part of the COP. The talking is over there. The action is over here. Thank you.
I remember when Salim was first telling me about the Catalytic grant some time ago. It was an experimental idea, and along with the Climate Justice and Resilience Fund and the Global Resilience Partnership, and with the incredible thought leadership of Salim and his team and ICAD, I think it's definitely grown a lot of traction, and we're looking forward to hearing from some of the recipients of the Catalytic grant during our panel discussion. But to find out some more information about the next round that's being launched here at the COP27 Resilience Hub, I'd like to call up Adiba Kamal to share some of the details about the application process and what to expect. Adiba, over to you.
So as Dr. Hawk mentioned that we are going to launch a next phase of Catalytic grant at COP27. So where I'll be speaking more about what are the requirements, how we will assess, how we will do the assessment criteria of the Catalytic grant program, and the application timeline. So Catalytic grant program award is basically a $5,000 USD for implementing your ideas for 1 year. And for the Catalytic grant overview, this grant is basically a seed funding to start your project, start your idea in ground, to implement your ideas in ground. And this is basically, we call it beginning of networks. Like we try to have more collaboration in the future, as you will hear from the grantees later, like how we are actually expanding the networking, our work through Catalytic grant. And as per the themes that we are focusing on Catalytic grant, mostly in the area of work where we actually work is locally led adaptation, nature-based solution, loss and damage, and capacity building. And for the Catalytic grant program, we are keeping it as a team program. Like you have to pitch it through a team. The team should have 3 members, and we actually encourage to have mixed group of people so that you can have a mixed idea when you implement your idea in the ground. So for the mixed composition of group, you may have a researcher, you may have a youth, you may have a teacher, faculty member in your group to have different ideas, different thoughts. And then we are also inviting applicants who have knowledge or who have experience in community-based adaptation, who is interested to expand their knowledge, their experience through this grant. And lastly, we are encouraging, this year especially, we are encouraging grassroots organization, youth-led organization working in different parts of the ground. That's more or less the team composition. And then the assessment criteria. We are encouraging to have more positive outcome-based projects, proposals, to have more positive impacts in community, in biodiversity, so that we can have a fight against or build the resilience community. So that is the first assessment criteria. And for this year, we are having a recording initiative. Like when you apply the process, you if you get selected, then you have to pitch your idea through a recording. That will be a selected number of participants will have to pitch their idea through recording. And then lastly, we will have, as I mentioned earlier, this is a 1-year timeline proposal or a grant. So we will have regular checkup calls from GRP, CGRF, as well as from ECAD with you. And for the application timeline, that application is already open. Dr. Salimul Haq have actually launched the grant, and it will be open till 27th November for 3 weeks. And lastly, on 18 December, we will be giving the first email to the selected participant, the first slot participant. Then we will have a second slot selection process. And lastly, if you can see a QR code in the presentation. If you scan the code, you will get all this information that I have mentioned in my discussion. You will get all this information in your phone. So that's all. Maybe later I can take some questions from interested applicants. Thank you, Emil.
Thank you so much, Adiba. Further information can be found online as well. You can go to either the ICAD or GRP or CJRF websites to find further information. Of course, Adiba's put the email address up on the screen as well, and so you can email further queries directly to Adiba. We'll show that email address at the end of the event so that you can see it big and bold, and you can grab it if you want to ask Adiba any questions directly. So, Prof, you said this is a place for action, and so we have some of the winners of the Catalytic grants with us. And looking at the work that they are doing, it's very clear that these are very action-minded people. So joining us up on stage, we have Jacqueline Lepi from India. Come join us up on stage. We have Stephen Bright Sakwa. Joining us virtually, we have Shla Tauching Mam. Also joining us virtually is Rosemary Atieno. In person, we have Sandrella Angelova. And virtually as well, we have Ruksha Sultana. So let me join you all on the couches. So whenever I think about application processes and who's won and trying to learn from you, I always want to know how you thought about this, how you came to apply for it. But before we jump into the meat of this discussion, let me give each of you an opportunity to introduce yourselves and say something briefly about what work you applied for this Catalytic grant, and then we'll unpack that a bit as we go through. So Sakwa, let's start with you. Quick introduction.
Thank you so much, Amir. My name is Stephen Bright Sakwa from Uganda, and today I'm here to talk about the plight of refugees, what we have done, and what still needs to be done. Thank you.
Great. Sandrella, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Sandrella Ndlovu. I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm one of the Catalytic grant winners for this year, and our project was on indigenous knowledge systems that are relating to climate change. So in our project, we are collecting that indigenous knowledge systems and creating a database out of that, integrating it with modern climate services.
Great, thank you, Sandrella. And Jacqueline?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. Very good afternoon. So I'm Jacqueline. I represent the UN Major Group for Children and Youth. I come from a disaster background. So I think I try to bridge the gap between the climate actions and the disasters. And Resilience Hub, I think, would be the perfect place when you speak about climate adaptation and also on disaster risk reduction. So I was engaged with the Catalytic grant back in 2021, and the topic connects with the youth and the gender. And it was, the focused area was India and Nepal. Maybe I'll go on to the detail later. Yeah, thank you.
Great,
Over
thanks.
to you.
Thanks so much, Jacqueline. So from on our screen, I see we've lost the speaker, but hopefully Rosemary will join us in a moment. Ruksha, over to you for a quick introduction.
Yes, hi everyone. So my name is Ruksar and I'm from Bangladesh. It's evening here. Great to see you all. So I applied for a Catalytic grant for the Gobeshona Phase 2, which was this year. And I represent Team LILA, which stands for Locally Youth-led adaptation. So the aspect of our grant and the project that we proposed is combining youth taking locally led adaptation, and our study was more focused on the Howard livelihoods and how it is impacted by climate change.
Great, thank you for that. And Shlaucheng Mama, over to you for a quick introduction.
Yes, thank you everyone. So I'm Slathoiching Marma. I'm from Bangladesh. Marma is one of the indigenous communities of Bangladesh. So all my works are community-based. And I came to know about this Catalytic grant from one of my professors from our university. And our work is, our project was on establishing a climate learning hub. It's called Kabalung. Kabalung means the earth in Marma language. So thank you everyone, that's all for now. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much. A lot of these questions will be ones that all of our panelists could answer, but we're going to spread them out a bit and try hear as many different perspectives and opinions on this. What we really want the audience and those listening in virtually to really grasp from this and to also pose your questions is, what is the purpose of Catalytic grants? What have previous people applied for? How have they won it? What is the process like? And hopefully by the end of this session, you will have a lot of those questions answered. And if you weren't before, you will be inspired to apply for it. So let's jump right in. Let's start from the beginning. Sakwa, when you first came across the Catalytic grants, what motivated you to apply? How did you form your team? And what was the process like for you?
Yes, the first time I came across the call was during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I was doing some work with refugee children, environmental education. But during the same period, we had an issue of the COVID-19 lockdown, which affected many value chains, including the relief food that refugees depend on. So it was a very big issue. And the other problem is that the refugees, most of them were not doing their own agriculture. They were only depending on that food. So we had to swing in and train them about agriculture, but most importantly, agriculture which is adaptive to the changing climate so that they can produce their own food and reduce dependence on aid which was not available at the time. Yes. So the application process was not complicated. I teamed with a colleague known as Susan Nandudu. We put our ideas together. She's good at writing. I'm not so good at that, but I had the hands-on experience in the field, so it was very easy to come up with the proposal.
Great. No, that's fantastic to point out. The application process for the Catalytic grants are really meant to be quite simple and quite straightforward. We don't want to overburden those applying for the Catalytic grants as well. So quite an important point there to mention, Sakura. So Cinderella, same question for you. How did you apply for the grant? What motivated you to do so? What does your team look like?
Okay, so what makes our team unique is the fact that we are three in a team. It's three ladies. And I only know one of my colleagues, which is Patience Band, and the other colleague was the one who spotted the opportunity for the Catalytic grant, and then she then contacted us via LinkedIn. So this was a total stranger that joined our team. And from that experience, because the three of us have a passion on climate change and on the environment, we then put our ideas together on which idea we feel best and which idea are we going to apply for the Catalytic grant. And we then settled for the Indigenous Knowledge Systems one. So it was quite interesting how someone could come across a platform such as the Catalytic grant and then scroll through LinkedIn and happen to find your profile, and they think you are the best fit for their team, even if they don't personally know you.
Great. I think that's a great case study for why this is a catalytic grant. It really is meant to try and foster new partnerships and to be able to provide a relatively small envelope of funding to get that off the ground. We're all at conferences, we're constantly meeting people that may align with the work that we're doing, but often we go back home, or nowadays most conferences are online, and there isn't always the resources available to try and get that off the ground. So Cinderella, thanks for sharing that. That's great to hear. Moving on, Jacqueline, what for you has been one of the lessons that you will take out of the Catalytic grant process?
I think the straightforward lesson that I had is when I was working with the community, so the 1 year has got delayed because we wanted to have the community interaction and get to the actual community on the ground. But when we are on the ground and engaging with the women at the remotest villages of India and Nepal, we found out that they have good practices on adaptations. But we never know because those areas are not well connected. They're not even connected to outside world. So I just remember even to reach the community which we had an intervention, we have to trek for 2 hours. So you can imagine like they're just disconnected from the outside world. But when you reach there, they're mostly the women who does the weaving and the agriculture. So they are mostly women led and they have the knowledge to do the adaptations. But still there are few gaps. I think if with the support, if we can give with the knowledge and the science and technology, those women can do brilliant.
Great, no, thanks so much for that. And for our virtual speakers, there we go, great. Hi Rosemary, good to have you back with us. So this question goes to you, Shla. So for the Catalytic grants, was it catalytic for your project? And if so, how?
Thank you so much. My name's Rosemary Atieno. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
I hope you can hear me. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so my name's Rosemary Atieno. I'm from Kenya and western part of Kenya along the shores of Lake Victoria. And we were lucky to be part of the winners of the Catalytic grant. We were in team 10 with my fellow colleagues, Paulina and the...
Unfortunately, I think Rosemary may be having some internet trouble, but let's move on to Chaljing Mama. Same question for you. How have the Catalytic grants progressed or help you further work in your project?
Thank you for the question. So, as I said before, I work in my community. I live in one of the remotest areas of Bangladesh, which is called Chittagong Hill Tracts. So where most of the people are indigenous people and they live in, their main livelihood is, jhum cultivation, which is totally dependent on nature-based livelihood. So I always wanted to work on, my interest areas are environment and education. So because our livelihood, the indigenous people's livelihood are nature-based, so I wanted to, I always have been wanting to, work with the youths of indigenous people. I wanted to, help them understand about climate change so that they understand, so that they're ready for the future. If they're enough, aware about this from now on, from their, from their young age, they will be able to adapt. They will be able to take actions to help their community and also help themselves. So this Catalytic grant, helped me to take a step to work with the youths of indigenous people of our area. So I feel very lucky to be one of the winning teams of Catalytic grants. So, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chao Ching. So, Riksha, I think it will be interesting for everyone to get a sense of what activities you are doing with the Catalytic grant that you've won. So, if you could just help us all understand how you're going to use that money from the grant.
Sure. So the way we designed our project was in 3 pillars. So one is capacitate, then the other one is activate, and then amplify. So under the 3 pillars, the way we designed is, let me give a little bit of background to where the idea came from. So before we applied for the grant, one of my team member, she is a student at a university and she is doing her master's, and her research actually laid groundwork for us in the planning of our grant. So what we wanted to do was, in her research, she found out that our study site is a wetland. It's called Shunamganj. So in Shunamganj, it's 6 months there's flood, and due to flood, the communication systems get disrupted, and a lot of regular activities of women and especially youth are hampered. So focusing that and to bring those stories out and how to amplify those stories and get them across, we wanted to use the grant money to to capacitate the youth on how to collect information, case stories, and photo stories from the ground of communities and how they're dealing with the situation and how they are thriving or to overcome their current crisis. So that's where our capacity building efforts or capacitate framework was. And then in terms of activate, we then mobilized. So right now we're in the phase of activation. So we first we have selected a group of 8 young people from Shunamganj, and they would be the youth voices who would be collecting the stories from the ground of how climate change is affecting their community. And they are in the process of being activated to collect those stories. So we're in that phase. And once those stories are collected, our group, we want to amplify those stories further with the mediums of Resilience Hub and Gobeshana itself, and share those stories across the stories, the raw stories that are collected by youth. So the way we designed is we want to get the voices of the youth across, the voices that represent their community, their suffering, and as well as how they're taking forward resilience from their community, how they see locally led adaptation in the community. So that's how we framed our research when we applied for the grant.
Great, thank you so much, Roxana. I think such a crucial point to mention there, amplifying stories, amplifying voices. This is what the Resilience Hub is also here for. And this is why we are launching this new round for the COP27 Resilience Hub. So great to hear from that. Let's hear a little bit more about the activities from some of the other awardees. Cinderella, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about the activities that you conducted with this grant.
Okay, so in our project, this is what we did. We identified a rural community in the southwestern region of Zimbabwe. This is one of the regions that have been heavily hit by climate change. So these communities suffering from massive or rather long dry spells and droughts. And as a result, the community is losing a lot of cattle and it's losing a lot of yields in terms of their agricultural activities. But based on the fact that this is a rural community, it means that their access to climate services in terms of the meteorological data that is going to let them know when the rainy season starts and when to plant, it's not really there. So that's the gap that we identified. However, we know that these people have been existing within that community for a very long period of time. And through that long period of time, they've accumulated what we call indigenous knowledge systems, signs that they look out for in nature that they use to determine the start of the rainy season. So in our project, we are collecting indigenous knowledge systems from the local community to find out how then do they determine the start of the rainy season, how then do they know when it's time to plant, because the climate services do not reach them, or if they do, it's already too late to warn the small holder farmers if there's going to be drought, if the rainy season is going to be late and whatnot. So we are having a database of indigenous knowledge systems, and then we are also assessing the accessibility and availability of climate services within the community that we are interacting with. So the whole goal is that in our project we are then going to be able to inform decisions at a local level to say this is the gap that our research has identified in terms of narrowing the gap between indigenous knowledge systems and modern technologies, and then we are going to put forth suggestions that are going to be included in the policy.
Great, thank you, Cinderella. I think all of you can see quite a range of different activities, quite a range of different geographies, topics, and action on the ground. Mr. Stephen Bright Sakwa, application processes are never perfect. The Catalytic grants have tried to iterate the process to ensure that it's streamlined and easy. Did you face any challenges with applying for this particular Catalytic grant that you won in 2021? It has changed a bit since then to become more streamlined, but perhaps you can share some of your personal experiences with any challenges you may have faced, just to inspire those that might be thinking about applying for this. Over to you.
For the application, we really had no issues as far as the system is concerned. But when it comes to the application itself, there are very important things to consider, especially diversity. What is your team composition? Which kind of problem are you trying to solve? And which level of innovativeness are you bringing to solve the problem? Very important.
Great, no, thanks for that. That's a wonderful insight. And Adiba mentioned this in the brief intervention, teams of up to 3 people, really encouraging a diversity of different people that you bring into that team. You can have people from different countries, from different regions. Really, it is to foster radical collaboration. So do keep that in mind. Rosemary, over to you. Did you have any challenges with the application process itself, and any tips or feedback to those who might be thinking about applying?
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I've really been on and off, but just forgive me, it's power issues in Kenya. I think just as my colleague has mentioned, with the application process, no really major challenges. You know, you're applying for a grant and you're meeting people you've never met physically. You're meeting them online. So, you know, you have that issue of trying to blend together so that you really understand one another and you speak on the same tone and the same note. Fortunately for our team, we were all from Kenya, but from different parts of the country, very extreme parts. One person is from a very extreme area where it is very dry, the cultures are very different, and then other people from an area where there's a lot of rain, different culture. So it's just about blending our diversities. That was maybe the key challenge. And then maybe a second challenge is when you wanted to, you know, compile your reports together. So some people are slow, some people are fast, but we managed to pull through with all that because we were learning each other as we were going. So no major challenges, so guarantees who want to apply should not be really afraid.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. And Jacqueline, any tips for people thinking about applying?
Suggest with the challenge you can use that as your opportunity, because the application process has very specific questions. I think that would be very helpful to make it very to the point answers. However, you might feel that it's a word limit is there's very specific questions, how you would put together your good ideas in a short form, but don't think it is a challenge or don't think it's difficult. Actually, that is a good point. I would say I would request that you see the plus point, because it's so specific that you just write the exact points to your answers. It's short, just keep it to the point, and I think you're good to go.
Great.
And also, if I add one more point, ICAD is very supportive, so you can always reach out to them if there is any doubt or questions, because when I was doing it, so they were very helpful. So yeah, so that's I think you can always reach out to them. You would reach out to them, right? If they reach.
No, of course. And as Adiba mentioned as well, is that there are sort of monthly calls as well. Those aren't there for holding people strongly accountable. I remember in a call with Salim once, he said, this is a facilitative process. This isn't necessarily to give you, excuse me, some grant money and really hold you to delivering it. It is meant there to try and catalyze your partnership in an appropriate way and try and get some work off the ground, new ideas, etc. So, of course, these monthly calls, a lot of different grantees have come back with feedback to say, these are really great. They really motivate us to do this, and it's great to have a place to touch base with people who really care about what we're doing on the ground. So do keep that in mind. We're running out of time for this panel discussion, but I wanted to give each of our panelists an opportunity to talk about what they are excited about with their work going forward in the next few years. So, Sakwa, let's start with you. What are you excited about with your work over the next few years?
Thank you, Amir. About my work, I'm actually not very excited. I'm a bit worried because we did pass on the knowledge to refugees, but some things were beyond us. For example, we trained them about irrigation, but then the water source that we constructed kept on drying up because it was a very long dry spell. So we really need massive investment in cross-cutting challenges, especially of water stress. And if that is not tackled, then my excitement, I have to keep it to myself for now.
Yeah. I mean, certainly an important point. We know that such a small fraction of climate finance is actually reaching the ground for locally led adaptation. So a critical point to mention, one that we'll be talking about a lot in the Resilience Hub, certainly one, climate finance, a huge point for the negotiations and discussions here at COP27 as well. Sandrella, over to you. For where do you see your work going in the next few years? What are you excited about?
Okay, so from Team Zimbabwe, we're really excited about our work because it has attracted the attention of the Ministry of Environment. Right now I'm attending COP and I have a purple badge, so it means I'm part of the delegation and I'm going to be learning a lot from the proceedings. So in terms of the work that we are doing through the Catalytic grant, from our research outputs, we are going to be reviewing the Smart Agricultural Policy, the Smart Agriculture Manual of Zimbabwe, and we are going to be giving our input in terms of what needs to be done to integrate indigenous knowledge systems. We're also going to be giving our review of the nationally determined contributions for our country from our findings, from the research that we are doing. And then the biggest one, whereby we are creating this database of indigenous knowledge system. Because in our work we've realized how indigenous knowledge systems is often carried by the older generation. And there's a huge intergenerational gap when it comes to passing on that knowledge to young people. And in the context of Zimbabwe, we found that indigenous knowledge system has been really pivotal in terms of building resilience at community level. Hence, my t-shirt is written, championing community-led adaptation. Some of the t-shirts that we issued to the community to say that the local knowledge that they have is very instrumental in terms of building their resilience to all these climate disasters, and they don't necessarily have to wait for weather stations to be constructed in their villages. They can still use that knowledge and they can still be able to facilitate their agricultural activities using that knowledge that they have. So we want to bridge that gap, and we are receiving so much interest from the ministry, and we hope to continue with our work and do more rural districts instead of just one.
Mm-hmm. Such a fantastic story to see how just a small injection of this grant can snowball into multiple other opportunities that can scale the influence of the message that you have. So definitely keep that in mind if you're thinking about applying. Jacqueline, over to you. What are you excited about, or where will your work go in the next few years?
Thank you for the question. I think with the fingers crossed, as this project was focused on gender, so in last year, UNDRR has established a WIN-DRR network, which is Women International Network, which is on DRR, but as we all know, DRR and climate action is very cross-cutting. So I'm trying to bring the women that I worked on to this platform. So that is one of giving them a platform to learn from each other, and also to build a network, share the knowledge. So that's just starting. This is the second year. I hope I could bring more and more of the women, not only the areas that I worked on, but also others in taking actions at the local level. So with the finger crossed, I hope I can build more on it and bring the women power forward.
Absolutely. And to our virtual speakers, let's start with Ruksha. What are you excited about over the next few years?
Very powerful question, and I'm very honored by the answers my fellow grantees have shared. So the way we look forward is we want to, from Team Lila, we want to go forward and build a community of youth activists and actors, especially who have the knowledge and the capacity to raise awareness. Also, we want to build like a community and a network of these youths from across Bangladesh. Now we are starting with Sunamganj, but hopefully, fingers crossed, we are able to go across Bangladesh, and then we can connect these youths together to have a platform where they can share ideas and knowledge about their local adaptation practices and what they can do forward for climate justice.
Great, thank you so much. And Rosemary, same question to you. I think you may be on mute.
I am a bit excited and not so much excited. I'm excited because we have been able to bring indigenous women to learn a lot about climate change. We have really demystified the big words. That was our worry when we were beginning, because we talk about very big words, climate change, ozone layer, carbon sequestration, but we have been able to demystify these words to our local women. And we have been able to learn a lot from them, just as my colleagues have said about indigenous knowledge, that even if we do not have the weather stations within the community, our communities are able to tell when things are going wrong and when things are going right. So I'm excited of the fact that more of our women who are always interacting with the environment most of the time are learning a lot on what kind of simple mitigation measures they can take, and really helping us to push the local adaptation agenda forward. However, I am worried of the fact that we have very little money reaching down to our grassroots women. The money is hanging somewhere that needs to be really brought down to where the action really needs to take place. So as COP27 goes on, we are also trying and reach out to our various governments to be able to help us put the things that are required in place to ensure that money reaches the right person on the ground to be able to mitigate. I want to reiterate that the Catalytic grant has given us a forum where we can actually share what we are doing with other stakeholders. And currently, as we speak, we have brought our local women onto the negotiation table. We are really struggling to have them on the negotiations table so that the messages they have are not watered down. When you give a message to a second and a third party, it does not reach the way it is supposed to reach. So we have brought our women on the negotiation table so that they bring out the issues the way they want them to come out. So I'm hoping that in the next 2-3 years, we should be able to have more women coming on the negotiation table. We should be having more people listening to the voices of our grassroots communities with the knowledge that they have, so that we can be able to synchronize this knowledge with the scientific knowledge that is available. Then lastly, we are hoping that if things go well for us, we should be able to have more stations like this in our various communities, so that our women are able to get a place where they can come, learn, and be able to do hands-on training to be able to know what to take back home. So for me, Catalytic Grant was a good platform, and is still a good platform, and we hope that as we continue, we'll be able to continue linking up and having more resources to be able to help us scale up our projects for the better of our communities.
Thank you, Rosemary, and I hope the next time I get to hear you speak, you can tell me that there are indeed more women at the negotiation table, such a crucial and important point
I hope so.
Yes, absolutely. Chao Ching, you said that the Catalytic grant helped you take the first few steps. Tell us about what the next few steps are. What are you going to be working on over the coming years?
Thank you so much. So what we have done so far is we're still actually, we haven't finished yet. We're still trying to develop a learning module that is actually contextualized, that can be very useful to our indigenous youths of our region. So I'm still working on it. And also what we have done so far is we did some survey through the students, through the youths of indigenous. They did survey and they learned a lot from their communities. So what I want to do in my in future is that, you know, Chittagong Hill Tracts, the livelihood of Chittagong Hill Tracts is mainly based on the jhum cultivation, which is in the hilly region. And I can see that, I mean, I have been experiencing, I mean, I've been seeing this from my childhood, that the amount of crops that we used to get from jhum cultivation has decreased a lot. It has been decreased a lot because the soil fertility has decreased, and water scarcity is increasing in our areas because they're hilly region, and the irrigation system is not developed yet. It is still the same. So I'm a bit, you know, I'm worrying about these things. But what is good thing about this is that more and more youths are being aware about these things. They're learning about climate change. We have just tried to help them to understand more. So if we, you know, if there are like this catalytic grant, if there are another, other like initiatives, if we can take other initiatives that will involve more youths into action and solve the problems that we're facing in the hilly regions and in other regions, I think this will be a big, I mean, help for all of us. So I am again thanking to ECAD for giving us the opportunity to do this project on climate change, and also I think if we can develop the learning module, this will go to different many different schools, and more indigenous youths will be aware about this. So thank you everyone for giving me this opportunity.
No, thank you, Chao Ching. I think at a crucial point to emphasize the power of youth and the role that youth play. And I certainly hope to hear that you're able to roll out this learning module. Colleagues, the reason why we've brought these grantees here is particularly for those who are thinking about maybe applying for this Catalytic grant, to hear from them how they were able to access this money, how they were able to go through the process of implementing these activities, and maybe how this has led to them building that out into something else. Of course, this isn't a massive amount of money, but it is potentially catalytic. So we do encourage you to pull together your team, think about how you can collaborate and partner and do apply. And so with that, I'd like to thank all of our panelists, and I would like to cue up our closing remarks from Hilary Heath from the Climate Justice and Resilience Fund, one of the partners along with the Global Resilience Partnership with ICAD in trying to deliver these catalytic grants. Cue the video.
Hello, everyone. My name is Heather McRae, and I'm the director of the Climate Justice Resilience Fund, or CJRF. CJRF's been proud to partner with ECAB and GRP to get this Catalytic Grants program started and up and running. And it's been a delight to see the many innovative projects and collaborations that have come out of the first couple rounds of grant making. Congratulations to all of the grant winners who have managed to put together some really interesting activities. And my apologies for not being there to hear about your work. I'm in transit to Sharm el-Sheikh right now. and look forward to seeing many of you when I arrive. This Catalytic Grants program, from our perspective, really plays a number of functions. First, it supports some real innovation in terms of collaboration across a number of different countries, engagement of young people, and experimentation with innovative issues and new methodologies. It's really exciting to see it playing this role. It also has been part of what we see as a community of practice, a growing set of people that really work on locally led adaptation and community-based approaches that really prioritize the people who are on the front lines of the climate crisis. This community comes together at the Gobeshna conference, at the community-based adaptation conferences, and here at the COP every year. But in between that time, it's wonderful to have an opportunity like this grants program for people to stay together, to engage, to take ideas into action. So I'm excited to hear that a new round of grants has been launched, and I hope many of you are considering grant ideas and opportunities and putting together teams. I really look forward to seeing what grants come to the fore, what project ideas come to light. Thank you for a few minutes here, and congratulations again to everyone who's made this initiative such a success.
Great, and before we close, the Resilience Hub virtual platform has fantastic networking functionality, and what we've done is through the regional resilience hubs is we've set up networking sessions for people from Africa, South Asia, Asia Pacific, and Latin America and the Caribbean to come together to try and meet new people who may have common interest and may be able to form a team. So do look out for those networking sessions on the Resilience Hub virtual platform. It's a wonderful opportunity for you to find other people, like Cinderella mentioned, finding people you may never have otherwise met, to try and form a team and apply for the Catalytic grants. And with that, I'd like to close. Thank you all for your attention.